Time now for our special investigation. This is a report you cannot afford to miss. If you've been shocked reading reports about the surging use of party drugs by India's young, we're about to show you just how that massive demand is being met right here in our country. A series of nationwide raids by anti-narcotics agencies have uncovered a deeply disturbing trend. Party drugs aren't trickling into the country in small consignments from across the border. They're actually being manufactured at a scary industrial scale right here on Indian soil, in full-fledged factories that you're about to see in this report that pose as pharmaceutical units. Atir Khan brings you this disturbing exclusive report.
If partying the night away is no longer a big deal for a brave new India, then neither is the use of party drugs. Low cost, easy access, and a new free-spirited existence has ensured party drugs have a ready consumer base. But if you thought drugs like ecstasy, meow meow, cat Valium were smuggled into the country in small hidden consignments, prepare for a shattering reality check. India Today now exposes perhaps the most disturbing story yet in India's fight against party drugs. An alarming series of raids by anti-narcotics agency on factories posing as genuine pharmaceutical units have revealed industrial-scale manufacture of party drugs.
This has been a matter of great concern for us over 2015. The Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, which is the enforcement arm of the Central Board of Excise and Customs, has made more than 8 busts of factories across the country. Our suspicion is that a lot of these drugs were meant for foreign markets.
The modus operandi is as shocking as it is simple. First, drug syndicates hire a factory unit in an industrial area. They then hire a chemist and laborers. Next, they obtain a license to make authentic medicines. Finally, the unit begins manufacturing party drugs. The drug haul from just recent raids have been huge. 500 kilos of mephedrone, popularly called meow meow, was seized from Bhiwadi near Delhi. 387 kilos of mephedrone was seized from Islampur, Maharashtra. 1,200 kilos of ketamine, also called cat or Kit Kat, was seized from Jalgaon, Maharashtra. 121 kilos of alprazolam was seized from GD Metla, Hyderabad. The nationwide raids have ended in several arrests. Interrogations have revealed the drug operations have flourished for years. Worse, the arrested drug makers reveal the units keep moving and have begun scouting areas in Himachal Pradesh next.
Availability of such drugs obviously makes it a problem for everybody. So while we can try to ensure that such supply is curtailed, we would also need to educate and enlighten our youth.
If you go by the seizure figures collected by agencies like NCB in India, the seizures of synthetic drugs have shown an upward trend in past few years.
The bust reveals the dangerous new homegrown industry that does not depend on risky imports, but fuels India's massive demand from Indian soil. The bad news? This is clearly only the tip of a proverbially massive and constantly moving iceberg.
Every other day, police all over the country are booking cases in which youths and teenagers are abusing these drugs and indulging in big crimes. Clearly, there's a need for concerted effort to control this menace before it gets out of control. With camera person Manish Dubey, Athar Khan in Delhi for India Today.
And I want to bring in Deputy Editor Athar Khan for more on this shocking story. We've already gotten a lot of calls, a lot of comments on this story because this is something that concerns anyone living in India's cities, not just our big cities. Athar, one of the big shocks of this special report is one usually thought that party drugs like ecstasy, like Kit Kat, like Meow Meow, these recreational drugs that are available to people in nightclubs and in the party circuits across India, one always assumed that these were somehow smuggled in covertly from abroad. What these raids prove and what your report proves, Athar, is that they're being manufactured in India on a colossal industrial scale. And that is why the demand is so big.
Well, absolutely. That's the general impression, Chief. As you were pointing out, that one gets an impression that all these drugs are, quite hi-fi and they are perhaps imported from some other country. But the facts are quite worrisome. There are these factories which have been set up all over the country. Every nook and corner you'll find one such factory. The reason being the investment is very low and then the chances of getting caught are very less. Therefore, you need a handful of labor, you need one chemist to carry out these operations, and there are different modus operandi which have been adopted by these scrupulous persons who are, some of them are habitual offenders who have been repeatedly been arrested, but then they are again engaging in the same manufacturing of these drugs because they are highly rewarding.
Yes.
Small for a 500 rupee, youths and teenagers are getting all these pudiyas from the peddlers who are start pushing these synthetic drugs because they are easily available, they are affordable. Since there are factories all over, it's a very worrisome scenario, Chief, and a lot needs to be done on various levels to curb this menace.
Athar, correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that this is going to be a much larger, issue to deal with than is really apparent. Because, the testimony provided by some of these men who've been arrested suggests that these factories keep moving. They are highly mobile. They have insiders, obviously, perhaps tipping them off whenever there's trouble headed their way. So they keep shifting their factories. So ultimately, it's going to be an extremely difficult battle for our anti-narcotics agencies.
Well, it is indeed. You see, the reason being a pharma factory is it never comes under suspicion. The reason being everybody assumes some medicines or chemicals are being made out there, and there is no illegal activity happening there. So even the local police is not sensitized. What these people do is they hire an industrial unit. It could be a small in size in any industrial area, and then they start operating from there and behind closed doors. So there is this labor which is working there. So one gets an impression that these people are making medicines, but actually what they're making is poison. And there are increasing reports that the teenagers especially are getting hooked onto these synthetic drugs, and they are indulging in very serious crimes, especially of crimes against women.
Athar and his team will continue to track this story very, very closely. One of 2016's most disturbing reports yet on the industrial scale in which party drugs are being manufactured in every nook and corner of India and supplying the huge young consumer base spread across this young nation. Athar, thanks very much for getting us this report. We'll keep a track of that. We've put the big questions to the government as well about how they plan to tackle this enormous, enormous problem facing the country.
Actor Nawazuddin Siddiqui of assault in Mumbai has now released a video after Nawazuddin Siddiqui denied he had assaulted her. Now this video has now been released.